Good morning and welcome to the Daily Move. I'm Byron Smith, filling in for Jessica and Michael this Thursday, October 16. There's a lot going on in markets, so let's get into it. We're kicking off your Thursday with strong lead from the US. Wall Street closed higher overnight. The Nasdaq rose 0.7%, led by a 9.4% jump in AMD, which is still rising based on its OpenAI deal recently. The S&P 500 added 0.4%, with big banks powering ahead there. Bank of America and Morgan Stanley both rose more than 4% after beating earnings expectations with their reports delivered overnight. In Asia, Hong Kong also joined the rally, with the Hang Seng Index jumping 1.8% yesterday, with Alibaba and BYD among the big stocks there making serious gains. We've also seen the Australian shares open up this morning, building on that positivity. And also commodities are keeping their shine. Gold rose above 4,200, that's the spot price, with futures hitting an intraday record of 4,235 an ounce. Silver futures also popped up 3.8%, above $50 to about $52.57. So what we're seeing is markets are continuing to juggle upbeat earnings with geopolitical tension, especially in the critical minerals space. So let's take a focus on rare earths. Basically, we're going to zoom in on what could be one of the biggest macro market themes building this quarter. If you haven't been watching what's been happening in rare earths, now is the time to start. What we're seeing is an escalating standoff between the US and China over rare earth elements, which are critical for everything from electric vehicles and wind turbines to missile systems and smartphones. These 17 elements in rare earths are essential to the green transition and modern defense technology. China currently holds about 60% of global supply of rare earths. So what lit a match under this sector last week was China tightening its export licensing rules on key rare earths, including gallium and germanium. This move, already labeled a global supply chain power grab by US trade officials, is being seen as economic retaliation and a broader signal that Beijing is willing to weaponize its dominance in strategic materials. In response, the US is pushing for a coordinated G7 arrangement with Australia at the center, because we're seen as a friendly, resource-rich partner that can help balance the scales. Part of that is Canberra trying to move quickly to develop a national critical minerals reserve, essentially a stockpile, to support allied supply chains and reduce reliance on China. That's the backdrop, and the market is reacting quite quickly to all of that. The Luca Resources we've seen is up 35% so far this month. A lot of those gains are just over the past week. Also, Brazilian Rare Earth is up 50% after posting solid gains, also riding the same theme. They're both ASX-listed rare earth producers. Across the small cap space, we've also seen some Aussie rare earth stocks jump significantly, such as ASM, which has doubled its value in a week. That's a 100% gain. Driven by a mix of speculative momentum and structural opportunity. It's not just the individual names. Linus is also there as a big rare earth player, of course. It's also the ETFs, which are telling a bigger story. We'll talk about that in a minute, but there's just a few dedicated rare earth ETFs, and they're performing very strongly in line with the whole sector. We're really seeing, beyond equities, the rare earth plays rippling through global policy and capital allocation. Institutional money is flowing in as governments and defense departments move critical minerals to the top of the strategic priority list. That's not something that's just happened in the past week. That's a longer-term trend, but it's being escalated with all the attention on China's activities over the past week. So basically, what started as a geopolitical spat looks like it could be turning into a full-blown investment megatrend. And if you get through the guide, when geopolitics and resource scarcity collide, markets do move fast. So look, that megatrend is likely to persist in some measure, even if the current blip is resolved through negotiations between China and the US. So this is the critical minerals sector is critical to pay attention to. There's a few dedicated stocks across the world, MP Materials in the US, Linus in Australia are among the very biggest. They've made serious gains quite recently. Keep your eye on those stocks and across the sector as a whole, because any changes in news can move valuations very quickly. Keeping on that theme, as we look into our watch list for today, Hyperion X is a smaller ASX listed company. It's also listed on the US in the NASDAQ. It was up 11% yesterday. Year to date, its gains are 66%. So it's a critical minerals player, of which rare earths are a part of that. And it has also a particular focus on titanium and other special metals. It's particularly a lot of what it does is produce metals, etc., minerals which are useful in the aerospace industry. It is solidly flagged as a strong buy by consensus by our analysts on the Moomoo platform, and it has been making very serious gains quite recently. So Hyperion X, the one stock to pay attention to. Coming back to ETFs, which we mentioned previously, Van Eck Rare Earth Strategic Metals ETF. The code there is REMX. That's up 30% in a month, 99% year to date, almost 100% gain in that ETF. We're seeing huge flows as investors pile into global rare earth investments, and this ETF in particular is one of the most obvious ways to get very broad exposure. This is a very, very diversified ETF. It is split between China, Australia, US, and other global markets with all the rare earths companies and producers around the world. So that diversification gives it some safety, particularly it's a very strong split, about 27% exposure to US and also the same amount to Australia, as they're two of the biggest markets for rare earth production. I think it's just a little bit less than 10% for the US, and then distributed quite evenly across other global markets. So if you're looking for kind of a diversified, broader exposure to rare earths or just want to consider that, then REMX is the code for the Van Eck dedicated ETF. And the gains there have been astounding so far this year. Turning attention away from rare earths to a minute, we're going to go to AI. Obviously, that's a thing we've been talking about steadily all year. And this follows on from another stock we mentioned just a week or so ago. The one we're focusing on today is Bitdeer Technologies. Like a few other stocks, it is a crypto mining outfit which is pivoting into artificial intelligence. And the stocks that have been doing that have been making very, very impressive gains in their share price and making a big splash in the market. So overnight, this is a NASDAQ listed stock in the US. Bitdeer gained 29%. All right, that's on the back of a September report that it put out for its September earnings. It's up a massive 226% in the past year. Basically, as a Bitcoin miner, it has a lot of the kind of infrastructure and the initiatives in place to push into the AI business. So it has announced multiple initiatives in artificial intelligence. It's got kind of the setup and the battery power to get that going, like a number of other Bitcoin miners in this area. In the notes on our YouTube entry here, I'll put a link to a really interesting article that the Moomoo team has put out all about this sector. Thanks for tuning into the Daily Moo this morning. We'll see you tomorrow.